Chapter 5: Experience Gains and Losses. Experience gains and losses occur when actuarial assumptions for a pension plan are not exactly realized. For example, when plan doesn't declare a death benefit, a gain will result if more participants than expected die during a respective year. To find the total gains, we need to sum up the investment gains and liability gains. Liability gains are made up of experience gains from withdrawal, salary, mortality, retirement, and others, but we will only look at the first four aspects only. In this chapter, we will discuss about the concept of gains and discuss about the total gains, investment gains, and also about liability gains. 5.1 Unfunded liabilities and gains. In this section, we will see the relationship within the actuarial aspect and in terms of pensions. From those relationships that occur, we can see some important functions listed below. First is how to find the mortality gains. To find it, we need to know the probability of QX for single decrement for death. Benefit payment that take into action is also death benefits only. So, the function for mortality gains is summation of actuarial liability for time 1 minus the death benefit minus the summation of the probability QX for D multiplied by the actuarial liability at time 1 minus the death benefit. For the second important function that can occur from the relationship is unfunded actuarial liability at time 0 multiplied by the 1 plus I plus the summation of normal cost at time 0 multiplied by 1 plus I minus the contribution at time 1 is actually equal to the expected unfunded actuarial liability at time 1. This function is actually connect the unfunded actuarial liability at time 0 and the expected unfunded actuarial liabilities at time 1. We can also get the investment gain by minus the expected investment from the actual investment. The expected investment is just interest times with the asset at time 0 plus the contribution at time 1 minus the contribution. The last one is the total gains, which is we can also get the total gains from expected unfunded actuarial liabilities minus the actual unfunded actuarial liabilities. And it is more easy to determine the unfunded actuarial liability at the end of the years. From the important function that I just mentioned just now, we will look through it in the next section with more details. For observation, gains and losses analysis gives the actuary an independent check on the accuracy of the valuation. If contribution minus the normal cost equal to X, then unfunded actuarial liability at time 1 is reduced by X. But note that the gain is not affected because X is the excess contributions but not the contribution gain. If gain is less than 0, it means we got the loss. But if unfunded actuarial liabilities is less than 0, we will get the surplus. If no benefits are expected or paid out, so the investment gains is actually the actual asset minus the expected asset. Total gain is the differences between expected and actual unfunded actuarial liabilities. If total gains is not equal to expected unfunded actuarial liability minus the actual unfunded actuarial liabilities, then a mistake has been made and need to be corrected. For the next section, which is 5.2, I will explain about the total experience gains. In this section, we will calculate the total gain, which is the expected unfunded actuarial liability minus the actual unfunded actuarial liability. At time 0, we can calculate the beginning of year of unfunded actuarial liability as unfunded actuarial liability at time 0 equal to the actuarial liability minus the asset. This function is actually an actual unfunded actuarial liability at time 0. When unfunded actuarial liability at time 0 is calculated, we can predict the unfunded actuarial liability at the end of the year as expected unfunded actuarial liability at time 1 equal to the unfunded actuarial liability at time 0 plus the normal cost at time 0 multiplied by the 1 plus I and minus the contribution. We need to note that the contribution is made at the end of the years. If the contribution is made in the middle between t equal to 0 and t equal to 1, contribution is actually C multiplied by 1 plus interest times the t. This function is actually we are using the simple interest. As I mentioned before that the total gain is actually expected unfunded actuarial liabilities minus the actual unfunded actuarial liabilities, and we already calculate the expected UAL and the actual UAL, so we just need to compute the formulas stated to find the total gains. Based on the timeline, we can see that the contribution is made at the time 1/4 and the remaining time towards the end of year is actually 1 minus 1/4. So we will get the T for the contribution is 9/12, which is 3/4. From the timeline also, we can calculate the expected unfunded actuarial liability at time 1, which is equal to the unfunded actuarial liability at time 0 plus the normal cost at time 0 times 1 plus I and also minus the contribution that happened at the end of the year, which is multiplied by 1 plus IT. This is because we know that the contribution is made in between t equal to 0 and t equal to 1. So to find the contribution at the end of the year, we need to use the simple interest. So we can find the total gains by calculating the expected unfunded actuarial liability minus the actual unfunded actuarial liability, and for the expected unfunded actuarial liability we can just compute the function that I just explained just now, so we can find the total gains from it. For example 5.5, it was given the normal cost, accurate liability, experience gains for previous year for 1st January 94 and 1st January 95. There are two contributions made for 1994, which is first contribution made is on the 1st July 94 and the second one is 31st December 94. So the question is asking us to find the actuarial value for assets as of 1st January 94, which is asset at time 0. To solve this question, first we need to know when the contribution happens. As for the contribution on 1st July 94, we know that it is occur in the middle of the year. So, to calculate the contribution at the end of the year, we need to use the simple interest formula, which is the contribution multiplied by 1 plus interest multiplied by time. And for the second contribution, which is occur at the 31st December 94, we already know that it is occur at the end of the year. We can find the asset, which is F0, by using the formula total gains equal to the expected unfunded actuarial liability at time 1 minus the actual unfunded actuarial liability at time 1, and just substitute the value that already given into the formula, and we can solve for F0, which is value of asset as of 1st January 94. For the next subtopic, which is 5.3, is investment gains. In this section, I will explain more about the investment gains that occur and how to calculate it. So, investment gains can also referred as interest gains or assets gains. It occurs when the actual investment income exceeds the expected investment income. The formula for investment gain is stated on the slide. Refer to the timeline. We need to assume that the F0, which is asset at time 0, is 1000. Assume interest rate is 5%, exit rate is at 10%, benefit is 100, and contribution is 200. As we can see that the contribution and benefit is happen in the middle of T0 and T1. I just mentioned just now that to find the investment gains, we need to minus the expected investment from the actual investment that happened. So, to find the expected investment, we can calculate it by asset at time 0 multiplied by I plus the contribution multiplied by IT minus the BIT. So, from there, we can know that only took into consideration the amount of investment return only. That's why we only multiple it with I. And as for contribution and benefit, we multiple it with IT because it happened in the middle. So we need to use the simple interest formula. From the formula, which is the expected investment formula, we can see that the interest of benefit is deducted from the formula. Why the interest of benefit is deducted? This is because the benefits B is already included in assets F. Note that the asset is at the end of the year and benefit is in the middle of the year, which is 1/2. So actually the interest gain is we calculating the profit or interest from the investment. So when there is a payment of benefit occur, means that there will be a money outflow from the total asset at time zero for the company. So when there is a money outflow, means that we already stopped doing the investment for that part of money. So the profit or interest from that part, we need to deduct it from the formula to avoid the double counting. Substitute the value given into the formula expected investment. We will get the value of expected investment, which is 52.5. Note that the interest rate that we use for calculating the expected investment is the assumed interest rate, which is 5%. And as we know that the T for the contribution and benefit is 1/2. By using the same formula, we can find the actual investment. Actual investment is different from expected investment because in the formula, to calculate the actual investment, we need to use the exact interest rate, which is the I prime equal to the 10%, and just like that we can find the actual investment. We already calculate the expected investment and actual investment, so we can find the investment gains value by minus the expected investment from the actual investment, and the answer is 52.5. Because of that situation, it will result in investment gains. But other situation that can also happen is when the assumed interest rate is less than the exact interest rate, which is the I is less than I prime. This situation will not result in gains but will give the company an investment loss. Other situation that can also happen is if the interest rate is not given, we can still calculate the investment gains by using the value of asset. First, we need to find the expected asset, which is asset at time zero plus the contribution minus the benefit plus the expected investment, and actual asset is equal to asset at time zero plus contribution minus benefit plus the actual investment. To find the investment gains, we can use the previous formula, which is actual investment minus the expected investment. From the formula expected asset and actual asset that I mentioned just now, we can find the actual investment and the expected investment by making the investment as a subject for both equation. So we will get the investment gain is actually equal to actual asset minus asset at time 0 minus contribution plus benefit minus expected asset plus the asset at time 0 minus the contribution plus the benefit, and cancel out the asset, contribution and benefit. We will actually get for investment gains is equal to the actual asset minus the expected asset. And we need to note that the actual benefit is equal to the expected benefit. Let's look example 5.8, which is example for investment gains. First, we need to read all the information given. As we can see that the value of assets given for 1st January 93 is equal to 0, and there is only one contribution made, which is on 1st April 93 with amount 6,000. And note that there is non-investment experience gains or loss for 93, which is in this case is the liability gains. And UAL for 94 is 25%. The question asks us to find the investment gain or loss for 1993. To solve this, we need to know the formula for investment gains. There are few formula for investment gains, which is we can use the investment return formula and also the value of asset formula, but in this case the interest rate given is only the assumed interest rate, and there are not stated the exact interest rate, so we can use both formula, which is the investment return formula and the asset formula. But in this question stated that there is non-investment experience gain or loss for 1993, which is there is no liability. So by using the formula, total gains equal to investment gain plus liability gains, which is now equal to 0, we can assume that the total gain is actually equal to investment gains. And as I stated before, that the total gains is actually the expected unfunded actuarial liability minus the actual unfunded actuarial liability. So we can find the investment gains by using the total gains formula, because the liability gains is equal to 0. So investment gains is equal to the unfunded actuarial liability at time 0 plus the normal cost at time 0 multiplied by 1 plus I minus the contribution minus the actual unfunded actuarial liability. To find the actuarial liability at time 0, we can use the basic formula, which is benefit payment at retirement date multiplied by the selected annuity value, and since there is no pre-retirement deaths and terminations, we will only multiply it with the 1 plus I power of 63 minus 34 and insert all the information given into the formula. We will get the actuarial liability value at time 0 is equal to 25853. For the normal cost at time 0, we will also use the basic formula, which is benefit payment for a year multiplied by the selected annuity value multiplied with 1 plus I to the power of 63 minus 34, and calculate it. We will get NC at time 0 equal to 2873. Recall back, to find the value of unfunded actuarial liability is just value of actuarial liability minus the assets. Since we know from the question that there is no assets as of 1st January 1993, so the unfunded actuarial liability is just equal to the value of actuarial liability at time 0. Calculate the investment gains by using the formula of total gains equal to investment gains plus liability gains when the liability gains is equal to 0. So, by using the formula that already stated on the slide and insert all the values given from the information and also values that we already calculated, we will get the investment gains equal to negative 336, and because the value is in negative, it will result in investment loss. So the company is actually facing an investment loss.
Hello viewers, my name is Imran, and now I'll be explaining two other salary gains, which are retirement gains and withdrawal gains. In this section, we discuss gain due to three types of retirement, which are normal retirement, early retirement, and postponed retirement. In normal retirement gains, participants sometimes retire at the age in the pension document at the normal retirement age without being early or postponed. When a participant retired, sometimes an annuity is purchased from an insurance company to cover the monthly retirement benefit. If the interest rate is high, the participant will have to pay premium that is lesser than the actuarial liability release. The difference will lead to experience gain. If the opposite happens, in which the premium is the paid premium is higher than the actual liability release, then the differences will lead to experience loss. However, most of the time, the annuity will not be purchased, in which the benefit is paid from the pension fund. Because of this, there is no change in actuarial liability and thus no gain or losses. In early retirement gains, many plans allow participants to retire early, assuming certain requirements are met. However, this will lead to reduction in retirement benefit, either to certain percentage for each month or yearly, although sometimes there is no reduction. As we can see, we prepare two types of formula to find the expected actuarial liability in the form of entry age normal and traditional unit credit, assuming that a participant retirement age is 55 but the actual liability is 60. Assuming that the participant retire at age 60 but there is no reduction factor, we will find the actual liability. We can subtract the actual actuarial liability with expected actuarial liability, which will lead to experience loss for the participant. If there is reduction factor, for example, 4% for each of the 5 years, then we will experience smaller losses. If an actuarial equivalent pension is available in the plan document, then there will be no experience loss. Now, let's go to postponed retirement gains. Some pension plans allow the participant to remain active past the normal retirement age. The amount of postponed pension benefit provided may or may not include services after normal retirement age. If retirement is postponed for M years, for example, the pension will be paid for M fewer years than normal. In exchange, the accrued benefit may increase. We can do this, we can find the benefit and actuarial liability. As the video posted, we can consider a plan where the annual pension benefit is 2% final average salary and the retirement age is 65. However, what if the actual retirement age is at 66? Then we have to change the benefit and the actual liability from 65 to 66. From there, we can also find the expected gain, assuming that the participants survive. If the plan provides actual service after age 65 for an actual equivalent benefit of E times B66, the B60 is equal to 0.2 times the salary and times the retirement minus the year of service. From there, we can find the actual liability at actual retirement. Now, we will move on to a new subtopic, which is withdrawal gains. This section discusses vesting and gains from withdrawal. The first part we're going to discuss is vesting. Vesting is a legal term that means to give or earn a right to a present or future payment, asset or benefit. It is most commonly used in reference to retirement plan benefits when an employee accrued non-forfeitable rights over employer-provided stock incentive or employer contribution made to the employee's qualified retirement plan, account or pension plan. Suppose an annual pension benefit of 480 ringgit per year of services with 50% vesting after 3 years and 100% after 6 years of service. If the participant withdraw after say 4 years, then the deferred pension benefit nominally will be 50% of the 4-year For example, the following table gives the necessary information, including time of withdrawal, accrued benefit, vested benefit, and factors per dollar of deferred benefit, which include in entry age normal and in credit. Based on the table above, we can now calculate the actual liability released due to withdrawal, the value of the vested benefit at withdrawal, and the gain withdrawal. To find the liability release, we have to times the accrued benefit with the entry age normal. To find the withdrawal benefit, we have to times the vested benefit with the unit credit. To find the differences or gain from this, we have to subtract the liability release with the withdrawal benefit. We get the answer. There are 3 levels of vesting, which are vesting required by statute, additional vesting provided by the plan documents, and additional vesting in the event of plan wind up as provided by statute. Now, let's go to the subtopic gain in the withdrawal gain. A withdrawal gain or loss can occur if the actual liability interest rate is higher or lower than the accrued benefit. Under the traditional unit credit cost method, with a vested participant, the following property code. The normal cost and actual liability are not affected by the value Qx power W. Withdrawal do not cost gain. Early retirement benefit that are equivalent do not cost gain, and a withdrawal gain will probably occur if the cost method is more conservative, in which purposely low for the sake of caution. from here we can find the withdrawal we have the withdrawal gain formula with the actual liability, the total actual liability minus the withdrawal WBEN to find the withdrawal gain, which is also known as total actual net. If the service table has a withdrawal document, then we have to create a new withdrawal gain. If the withdrawal benefit is not transferred out, then there will be a deferred vested liability for every such participant in every subsequent valuation until they either retire or die.
So today I will present on the salary gains. Basically, there are three types of salary that are benefit that are contingent on salary. The first one is final salary, or the second one is final average salary, or the last one is the career average salary. To calculate the salary gain is basically expected actuarial liability minus the actuarial liability. Basically, to calculate the expected actuarial liability is the benefit that are contingent with the final salary times dr over dx times a w dot r up to 12 minus the present value of future anti-normal costs. While to calculate the actuarial liability is basically benefits that are contingent with value and salary but calculated at the actual salary rate times dr over dx times AW.65 minus the present value of future unpaid normal costs calculated at the actual salary rate. If the salary scale is expected to be lower than the actual salary scale, it will make the actuarial liability becomes higher and eventually will make a loss. While a decrease in the expected salary scale will make the actuarial liability become lower and make gain to the company. Now we will move on to the mortality gain. As its name, mortality gain is the company will gain due to a death participants. If a death occurs, actuarial liability of the participant will be released. If there is no death benefit, the actuarial liability will equal, but if there are death benefit, the mortality gain will be equal to actuarial liability minus the death benefit. Because of there is assumed mortality, the formula will become mortality gain is equal to the summation of actuarial liability minus the death benefit minus the summation of probability of QX times actuarial liability minus the death benefit. In short, for mortality gain, if there are more people die, more participants die, it will produce more gain to the company.